A sliver of early morning sunlight pierced through the window, falling into the cramped room. The young woman curled up on the narrow bed furrowed her brow, then slowly opened her eyes, hazy and confused. Where was this? She looked around. Her eyes landed on a battered, rotting wardrobe that gave off a musty smell. The bed was an army cot, making her curl her arms and legs just to fit. She couldn't even stretch out all the way. The walls were plastered with yellowed old newspapers. Wait a minute, these were all from the 70s? Evelyn sat up, clutching her stomach as it cramped from hunger. She frowned. System? You there? Ding dong, a cheerful electronic sound rang in her head. Dear Great Demon King, do you accept the memories? Yes. A flood of memories opened up in Evelyn's mind. The original owner was a former educated youth who'd gone to the countryside, same name, Evelyn Reed. The Reed family had 3 children, an older brother above her, a younger sister below. She was the unloved middle child, naturally the one sent off to a remote, desolate area as part of the rural youth program. She endured all kinds of hardship in the countryside but always thought of her family, scrimping and saving to send things home. Her family, however, never sent her a single thing, only endless demands. She'd spent 10 long years in the countryside and had only recently been allowed to return to the city. The reason she was called back was because her father was about to retire, and children could take over his job. Harold Reed was a warehouse loader, a physical labor job. Her older brother and younger sister both refused the job, so it finally fell to her. Even then, the original owner was brainwashed by the whole family, feeling incredibly grateful to come back and take over her father's position. She handed over her entire paycheck and did all the housework single-handedly, sacrificing everything for the family, giving her whole life. After more than a decade of grueling manual labor, she was riddled with illness but had no money for treatment. Her family coldly kicked her out. She never married, had no children, and died alone on the street from sickness. Just before death, she finally saw the truth: her entire life had not been worth living. She traded her soul for a chance to start over. She had only one request for the system: break free from all ties, never be bound by emotion again. Even if everyone hated her, she would live a brilliant, dazzling life. That emotion included not just romantic love, but also family and friendship. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. The original owner had been a supporting character in some script, only waking up at the very end? And her younger sister, Diana Reed, that was the golden female lead, the one everyone loved and spoiled, living a happy life. But that perfect happiness was built on another woman's blood, tears, and endless pain. Evelyn tilted her head and looked at Diana, who was still asleep on the wooden plank bed. A mocking gleam flickered in her eyes. Diana was a very calculating woman, a beautiful face on the outside, but black-hearted inside. A real scheming white lotus. She'd stolen her sister's man and still made everyone believe she was pure and kind, worthy of all the best things in the world. Impressive. Evelyn's beautiful eyes held a hint of amusement, sparkling and radiant even in the shabby room, as if she were plotting something. The system felt the shift in Evelyn's mood and grew nervous. Master, please don't do anything reckless. If you break the space-time rules, you'll be struck by lightning. I really think you should. It was supposed to be a system, but it sounded like a 5-year-old with a little topknot, its babyish voice grating. Evelyn's gaze turned icy cold. I don't care what you think. I care what I think. And as for these so-called rules, I decide them. Her domineering, powerful aura made the system shiver. Just who was this host it had bound? Itself too? All it knew was, the big boss had arrived. Someone was about to be in serious trouble. Bystanders, clear the way. Evelyn got up and went into the kitchen to rummage around. All she found was 1 bowl of rice, 3 eggs, and a bowl of pickled vegetables. That was breakfast for the 7 members of the Reed family. All the other ingredients were locked away by Rose. The Reeds were still sound asleep. Evelyn couldn't be bothered to make breakfast. She smirked, wrapped the 3 raw eggs in a ratty cloth bag, and leisurely walked out. On the way, she passed a diner and traded the 3 eggs for 2 donuts and a cup of coffee. She ate her fill, warm and satisfied, radiating a cheerful energy. See? There's nothing a good meal can't fix. If one doesn't work, have another. The original owner had been such a fool, never willing to spend money on herself. Weren't donuts delicious? Wasn't coffee sweet enough? At the factory, Evelyn immediately put on a gaunt, pale look, quietly slumping over her desk like she was about to pass out. Not that she had to fake it much. The original owner's health was terrible, her body had been damaged from years of farm labor, and now she was lifting heavy loads like a stevedore. Her roots were rotten, she was as fragile as paper. Her coworkers glanced at her with concern, exchanging looks. What a foolish girl, working herself to the bone but never treating herself well. She never complained, but everyone knew her family situation. Small town, everyone knew everyone's business. Every payday, the Reeds would show up early to take her wages, and she never argued or caused a fuss. Work like a mule, sleep like a dog, eat less than a bird, this was how bodies broke down. The Reeds were heartless. She was their own flesh and blood, how could they be so biased? But no one else could interfere. A round-faced woman walked over, looking sympathetic. Evelyn, you look terrible. Are you okay? Evelyn opened her eyes. This was the original owner's best friend, Megan Fields. I'm fine. Just didn't eat breakfast. I'm used to it. You do manual labor, how can you skip breakfast? Megan had advised her more than once, but Evelyn had always just smiled meekly. We're poor. I save it for Mom and Dad. They worked hard to raise us. My little sister is still in school, she's got good grades, and I need to support her education. Oh, and if anyone needs to take time off, let me know, I'll work the overtime. She was desperate for extra money. Everyone felt uneasy hearing that. She was so filial, but the Reeds? A bunch of vampires. Evelyn closed her eyes, hiding a faint trace of dark amusement. It was just acting, not hard for her. At lunch, Evelyn carried her chipped enamel bowl to the canteen, surrounded by workers from her shop. Just then, Diana Reid appeared out of nowhere, blocking everyone's path. Evelyn, what's wrong with you today? Why did you steal all the eggs from the house? It's not that we won't let you eat eggs, but those few eggs were supposed to be for little Buddy and Dad to build up their strength. How could you be so selfish? Dad worked so hard to raise us, she launched into a righteous tirade, positioning herself as the filial daughter on a moral high horse, accusing Evelyn of being unfilial. When the family woke up and found Evelyn hadn't made breakfast and the eggs were gone, they were furious. They'd sent Diana to teach Evelyn a lesson. Parents couldn't get involved directly, the older brother and sister-in-law couldn't either. Diana was the perfect choice. She wanted to win favor with her parents and brother and sister-in-law, grab some benefits for herself, and smear Evelyn's reputation at the same time. No one else wanted to get close to Evelyn, Diana did it willingly, and as long as she did, wouldn't Evelyn obediently listen? But Diana didn't know that Evelyn had changed inside. She was no longer a soft persimmon to be crushed. Everyone frowned. No way, there must be a mistake. Evelyn wasn't the type to steal food. And even if she had eaten 3 eggs, so what? She did heavy labor, didn't she deserve a meal? Evelyn looked at Diana with a complicated expression. She'd given the other woman a chance, if she didn't stir up trouble, she wouldn't get hurt. But Diana had chased her all the way to the factory, determined to destroy her own sister. Evelyn widened her eyes and blurted out, huh? Eggs? Didn't you sneak them in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep and eat them yourself? Then, as if realizing she'd said too much, she quickly tried to cover it up, her face turning red with embarrassment. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. You're my good little sister, you'd never steal. Diana's mind went blank. I did not. You're the one. Before she could finish, Evelyn kindly took the blame. Okay, it's my fault. I ate them. I also ate a whole big chicken, a big plate of roast beef, and a big plate of lamb chops. Delicious. That was even worse than saying nothing. Everyone looked at the two sisters with even stranger eyes. Diana was shaking with rage. Was Evelyn doing this on purpose? No way, Evelyn had always been in the palm of her hand, doing whatever Diana wanted. Megan had had enough. Diana, this is going too far. Your sister skips breakfast every day so you guys can eat. She goes to work hungry, look how pale she is. And now you're falsely accusing her? This is how you treat your own flesh and blood? You're acting like an enemy. Diana was flustered. She didn't know what had gone wrong. But she was smart and quick on her feet. I was mistaken. Sorry, Evelyn. The house ran out of eggs and I was worried. But I swear, I didn't eat any eggs. Nobody really believed her, but they pretended to, and the matter was dropped. Evelyn smiled. The perfect image of the scheming White Lotus had cracked. Diana remembered another important goal for this trip. She took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. Evelyn, come here. I need to talk to you. Evelyn let Diana pull her to a quiet corner, her gentle smile in place. What is it? Diana stared at her, same as always, naive and gullible, believing whatever anyone said. I'm getting engaged soon. Evelyn looked surprised and happy. Congratulations, little sister. Diana suddenly teared up, pretending to cry. My fiancé's family is very well off, but our family is so poor. The gap is too big. I feel like I don't deserve him, she trailed off, her voice choked, and bowed her head, waiting for Evelyn to take the bait. She wanted a grand wedding, a Shanghai brand watch, a forever bicycle, a butterfly sewing machine, a red lantern radio. With those, her future in-laws would respect her. But her family had an older brother and sister-in-law, her parents favored sons over daughters. They would never buy her such an impressive dowry. So she had to put her hopes on Evelyn. Every time she cried, Evelyn's heart would ache and she'd agree to anything. But this time, she miscalculated. A weak voice said, then don't get married. If the families are too mismatched, you won't be happy. Diana jerked her head up, mouth open. What? Those couldn't be Evelyn's words. Had Evelyn found out who her boyfriend was? Was this revenge? No way, Diana had never brought her boyfriend home. Evelyn had no chance to know. She pinched her palm and let the tears fall. But I love him so much. I'd die without him. Evelyn's paycheck was taken by their parents, but she could borrow money from coworkers. As for paying it back, Diana didn't care. She wasn't the one borrowing. Evelyn's eyes flickered with disgust. In the memories, the original owner had borrowed money from colleagues to help Diana gather a dowry, ruining her own reputation and spending years paying off debt. But when she was dying and came to borrow $200, she was thrown out. Such a cold, ungrateful sister, Evelyn wanted nothing to do with her. Besides, who was Diana's boyfriend? The very thought was disgusting. Fine, let her be disgusted for a change. You want to kill yourself? Jump in the river and your body bloats, hang yourself and your tongue sticks out, drink poison and your guts twist. Dying isn't easy. Choose carefully. Diana stared in disbelief. Evelyn, don't you love me anymore? Evelyn couldn't help but laugh, as gentle as water. Of course I love you. Don't worry, I'll collect your body and cremate it properly. I won't let you rot on the street. That's my last kindness to you. Cremate properly? That was kindness? Diana turned green and almost vomited. Herc. Evelyn looked startled. Little sister, are you pregnant? Oh my God, and you're not even married yet. The shout was loud enough to draw a crowd. Everyone's eyes lit up. Diana panicked. I am not. You're lying. Evelyn's eyes reddened as she looked at Diana with pain. I had wondered why you were in such a hurry to get married when you're still in school. So that's it. How could you be so foolish? What's his name? I'll go beat him up. Don't anyone try to stop me. Diana was both ashamed and furious. She wanted to rip Evelyn apart, but she had to keep playing the victim. I'm not pregnant. Why are you saying these things about me? What kind of sister does that? You're hurting me so much, really? Evelyn gave her an I know you're lying but I'll pretend to believe you look, the good sister. Oh, thank goodness. Then why are you so desperate to get married? Saying you'd die without him? Everyone listening clicked their tongues. How shameless. Little sister, listen to me. Don't go crazy over the first decent-looking man you meet. A girl has to value herself, respect herself. Don't bring shame to the family. The words were all good advice, but to Diana, they stung like needles. On the surface, she was being schooled, but really, Evelyn was calling her desperate and without self-respect. Diana was too proud to take it. Furious, she shoved Evelyn. How can you? Evelyn lost her balance and fell backward with a loud crack. Ah. Pushing your own sister in public, everyone looked at Diana with new eyes. All that sweet, innocent act, she was vicious at heart. If she treated her own sister like that, how could she be good to anyone else? Megan rushed over, wanting to help Evelyn up but afraid to. Evelyn's face was terrifyingly pale. Diana stared at her own hands. Had she pushed that hard? Evelyn lay on the ground, barely conscious, yet she still tried to comfort her sister. Don't worry, little sister. Even if you've lost your innocence, I'll make sure you get married properly. Before she finished, her head lolled to the side, completely passed out. A chorus of gasps followed. Slap, slap. Megan was furious. She gave Diana 2 hard slaps. Diana Reed, you snake. Your sister is always thinking of you, and this is how you repay her? You just pushed her to the ground and hurt her. Do you hate her that much? You have no conscience. Who paid for your school fees and living expenses? Your sister. Every bite you eat, every shirt you wear, that's her money. You're an ungrateful wolf. She yelled a string of curses, then turned to the other coworkers. Help me get her to the hospital. It all happened so fast. Diana barely had time to react before she was nailed as the villain. Her face burning, she stood dumbfounded, watching them carry Evelyn away. Under the contemptuous stares of the workers, a chill spread from deep inside her chest. It was so cold, even though winter hadn't arrived. The doctor looked at the emaciated, unconscious patient and shook his head gravely. This patient has been malnourished for a long time, chronic starvation. She's sick from hunger. She needs proper nutrition and rest. Otherwise, the coworkers leaned in. Otherwise what? The doctor's expression was sympathetic. Her lifespan will be short. Everyone fell silent. When Evelyn woke up, she was surrounded by the warmth of her coworkers' kindness. They fussed over her, brought her things. Megan even brought a steaming bowl of beef noodle soup, white noodles with a fried egg on top. Evelyn devoured it, drinking every last drop of broth. Only then did she feel some strength return. Looking up, she saw her coworkers watching her with pity. She blushed slightly, looking embarrassed. Was that really unattractive? Megan gently took her hand and said earnestly, Evelyn, don't be so foolish anymore. Keep some money for yourself. Take care of your body. Health is the most important thing. She'd always looked out for Evelyn because one night, on her way home from the late shift, she'd been in danger, and Evelyn, at risk to herself, had chased off the attacker. From that day on, Evelyn was her true friend. The others chimed in. Right. Your parents have pensions. Your brother and sister-in-law have jobs and are healthy. Your sister is almost done with school. You have to look out for yourself first. In their eyes, Evelyn was a kind, honest soul, a little weak, a little blindly filial, but always ready to help others. They all tried to convince her, their sincerity touching. Evelyn, you can't go on like this. What if your body gives out? You're not even married yet. Listen to us. Think about yourself more. The doctor said if you don't take care of yourself, you won't live long. That last comment earned a glare. Matt, watch your mouth. So what should I do? Evelyn's face was pale. She seemed shaken. She wasn't just acting, her character couldn't collapse. If the change was too drastic, people would get suspicious. She had to take it step by step, using outside support to transform herself. Seeing her waver, Megan was thrilled. She quickly offered a plan. Take a few days off, rest well. And from now on, pick up your own paycheck. Use the money to eat some meat, don't live on pickled vegetables. But Evelyn hesitated. I'm afraid, won't fly at home. Everyone went quiet. That was a real problem. Megan rolled her eyes. They'd notified the Reeds right away, and no one had shown up, that showed how cold they were. Even that wretch Diana hadn't come. Ungrateful wolf indeed. Then request a bunk in the factory dormitory. We have dorms. I'll think about it. Evelyn saw the genuine warmth of the era in these people. Sometimes strangers were kinder than family. At least strangers didn't suck your blood. Thank you, all of you. Your kindness, it's a warmth I've never felt before. The word never made everyone's heart clench. What kind of family were the Reeds? Did they have no hearts at all? They went back to the factory and spread the word. Evelyn immediately gained the sympathy of most people. Of course, there were always other voices. When the factory representative came to visit, Evelyn made 2 requests, a month's sick leave and a bed in the dormitory. The representative knew her situation and felt deep sympathy. She quickly approved the requests. Evelyn was so weak, she couldn't do heavy work anyway. If she got hurt on the job, the management would be liable. A month was a bit long but not impossible. Evelyn also asked for an advance on 2 months' salary. She explained that she had no money left, her family hadn't even come to visit, and she couldn't pay her hospital bills, her coworkers had covered it. When she spoke of the painful parts, she held back tears, her eyes red but refusing to cry. It made her even more pitiful. The representative, a woman named Aunt Lillian who ran the Women's Committee, knew the Reed family's situation well. But before, the victim had never spoken up, so she'd pretended not to see. Now she couldn't ignore it. And she despised how the Reeds behaved. Whether a child was a boy or a girl, treat them well, they'd be a help. Killing the goose that laid the golden eggs was stupid. She approved 2 months' salary in advance, $75 total. Finally, the hospital room was quiet. The patient in the next bed was still unconscious. Evelyn folded her arms across her chest and smiled a faint, unreadable smile. Good. Everything was going according to her plan. She had no intention of harming anyone. She wouldn't take revenge for things that hadn't happened yet. But if someone was stupid enough to mess with her, then don't blame her for being rude. A cold light flickered in her eyes. The original owner had wanted a brilliant life? Fine. She'd become a legend. The system's weak voice piped up. Master, you can't break the rules, want to go into the little dark room? Evelyn's face was calm. Just a soft but the threat made the system tremble and shut up. Fine. At worst, it would get struck by lightning. So pathetic. Other hosts listened to their systems. Why did hers threaten it? The name Great Demon King wasn't just for show. Evelyn didn't rest. She slipped out of the hospital and went to a bookstore, choosing a fountain pen, a bottle of ink, and 2 black-covered notebooks. She walked through the aisles. Lots of books, textbooks, reference books, thick volumes. None of that was what she wanted. She called the clerk. Do you have any agricultural technique books? The clerk led her to a corner. She scanned the shelves, mostly old books from the 50s and 60s, narrow in scope. Not very valuable. That's all? Do you have an agricultural testament? A young man squatting on the floor looking through materials suddenly looked up. The testament? What kind of book is that? Who wrote it? Evelyn's eyes quickly scanned the shelves. She frowned. Nothing suited her needs. Albert Howard wrote it. It's a hugely influential agricultural book worldwide, a comprehensive work, a classic among classics. It points the way towards sustainable agricultural development. The young man stood up excitedly. That book? I've never seen it. Evelyn finally got a good look at him. The young man had sharp features, thick eyebrows, clear eyes, and healthy wheat-colored skin. His demeanor was scholarly and friendly, making people want to get close. The system suddenly went wild. So handsome. Oh my God, snatch him up. Evelyn's expression froze. Snatch your own head. You're an emotionless system. Go for it, master. The system kept cheering, and Evelyn shut it down with a mental slap. The young man saw her odd expression. It's okay if you can't remember. Evelyn snapped out of it and nodded firmly. There is such a book, she'd read it before, it was required reading for agriculture majors. But she hadn't read it closely, just a vague memory. Then she froze. Damn. Wrong again. The English version was published by Oxford University Press in 1940, but it wasn't translated and introduced into the US mainstream until much later, and even then, it was niche. Actually, in this timeline, she'd have to be careful. She wasn't an agriculture student, but she read widely: astronomy, geography, history, science, fashion, whatever interested her. The young man looked at her with concern. Her face was pale, her figure thin as paper. Are you okay? Evelyn smiled apologetically. I'm fine. Thanks. He hesitated. Could I ask you more about that book? I'm not a bad guy. My name is Evan Thornton. I'm a senior at the State Agricultural College. My father is a professor there, he's devoted his life to agricultural research. I think this information might help him. Evelyn respected people with drive. This was a small favor. The book is an agricultural testament. English version, Oxford University Press. The author is Albert Howard. If you can't find it in the States, try overseas publishers. Evan's English was only average, technical terms went over his head. And she spoke fast. He had to ask for help. Could you write it down for me? Sure, no problem. Evelyn was happy to help. Evan's eyes lit up. Her English handwriting was elegant and free-spirited, with a hidden boldness. To thank you, let me buy you a meal. Okay. Evelyn also wanted to ask him a few things. Kind encounters would radiate brilliant light, touching people's hearts. This meeting would later be called the classic Golden Wind and Jade Dew, the first encounter of two peerless national masters, yet so ordinary. But miracles were often born in unexpected moments. 2 bowls of pork chop ramen, 1 portion of braised beef. Simple and plain, but it made Evelyn's mouth water. She ate with great relish. In the original owner's memories, there was no scene of her eating meat to her heart's content. Any good food went to the older brother first, then the younger sister. By the time it got to her, it was gone. Evan watched her thin figure and felt a little uncomfortable. He said carefully, "Not enough? I can order another bowl." He was afraid of hurting her pride. Some poor people were overly sensitive, he'd met plenty. Sometimes his good intentions were misunderstood. Evelyn smiled and nodded. "Yes, please. Thank you." Her natural, gracious manner made Evan breathe a little easier. After finishing her noodles, Evelyn wiped her mouth. "Evan, could you do me a favor? Find me some practical, reliable agricultural technique books?" "No problem." His father was a professor in the field, their house was full of such books. "But are you planning to go out to the suburbs and farm?" Just looking at her, she seemed unremarkable, poor complexion, thin, dull hair, rough hands, clearly a life of hardship. But when she spoke, she was completely different, knowledgeable, confident, with sparkling black eyes. No, Evelyn took a sip of broth, her expression calm. "I spent 10 years in the countryside as part of a rural youth program. I've done every kind of farm work. I'm planning to write up those 10 years of farming experience into a book, an agricultural guide. I hope it can give some insights and help to others." Evan was stunned. "What made you think of that?" Evelyn thought seriously for a moment, then explained in simple terms. "Farmers have a wealth of experience, but they can't write it down. I think that experience is worth discussing and studying, it can serve as a reference, and agricultural experts can see where it might be improved." She'd thought it through. To keep her character consistent, she had to work from her strongest foundation, 10 years of farming. And the U.S. had always been an agricultural giant, the government valued the field highly. She'd have plenty of room to work without raising suspicion. Evan was very interested. "That's a fascinating idea. Could you show it to me when you're done?" Evelyn had intended to use this as an opening. "Of course. I'd also like to consult Professor Thornton." She didn't beat around the bush, she said exactly what she was thinking. Evan appreciated that. He hated scheming and pretense. "Sure. My father loves discussing professional matters with students." "Thank you." Evelyn admired his easy, straightforward nature. "Next time, my treat." After eating, they went to the library together. Evan knew his way around and led her to the right shelves, pointing out relevant books. Evelyn happily checked out several. In the library, they talked for a long time, mostly about farming. Evan realized she truly had deep experience. When to fertilize, how to raise seedlings, pest control, she knew it all, her eyes bright and focused. She took notes as they spoke, serious and dedicated. He thought, this is exactly the kind of student his father loved, passionate, focused, and with the idealism of youth. Night fell. Evelyn walked lightly into the hospital room. An object flew straight at her face, accompanied by a piercing shriek. "Where have you been wandering off to?" "Huh?" Evelyn tilted her head. The enamel mug skimmed past her ear and slammed into the wall behind her with a loud crash. She swept a cold gaze in the direction it came from. It was Rose Reed. The older woman stormed toward her, aiming a slap straight at Evelyn's face. Evelyn frowned. Her daughter was in the hospital. Rose didn't come running, but when she did, she started beating and screaming. Was this a mother? A big question mark flashed through her mind. She stepped back quickly, retreating into the hallway. Rose chased after her, still shouting. "You dare run? Evelyn Reed, I raised you for 27 years, and this is how you repay me with your unfilial behavior." She was furious. The brat had fainted from hunger on purpose, shaming the Reed family and pinning the label of an unwed pregnancy on Diana. Rose's face was everywhere, she wanted to crawl into a hole. The workers were all saying that she and her husband favored sons over daughters, abused their second daughter, had no education, and raised a shameless younger daughter. Even people who disliked them ran up to Rose and made nasty comments. And her youngest daughter's tears of pain, they broke Rose's heart. Diana followed behind Rose, her eyes dark, offering half-hearted advice. Evelyn, look how upset you've made Mom. Apologize and beg for forgiveness. Her reputation was ruined by Evelyn. She was furious and deliberately fanned the flames in front of their parents, using every chance to provoke. She wanted to use their parents' hands to force Evelyn to take all the blame, clear Diana's name, and restore her purity. This disaster was Evelyn's fault, she should bear it alone. The commotion drew a crowd. Pointing, whispering, gossiping. People who didn't know the situation scolded Evelyn, after all, she was the daughter. In a country where filial piety was above all, parents had a natural dominance over children. No matter what parents did, even drowning a newborn, they were rarely punished. For a child to rebel, that was unfilial. Diana heard those comments and felt as cool as if she'd eaten ice on a hot summer day, so satisfying. Rose was a fierce woman. She'd been a factory worker and retired early so her son could take her job. But she didn't stay idle, she did day labor. Her favorite was her son, the root of the Reed family, her retirement plan. She'd coddled him since childhood. Her younger daughter, sweet-talking and pretty, was also a treasure, just behind the son. Only the quiet, introverted second daughter, she never favored her. After Evelyn went to the countryside for 10 years without seeing her, the bond grew even weaker. Rose raged. I raised a snake. Raising a dog would be better, at least a dog wags its tail at me. Get back here, you hear me? She chased and beat. Evelyn ran fast, thankfully, she'd eaten 4 pork buns on the way back. She had energy to flee. Ha! Worse than a dog? No wonder the original owner's soul was so bitter. All those years of hunger and deprivation, sending things home, never eating her fill. Every holiday, watching other rural youth go home to their families, she envied them. But her parents told her not to come back, to save the train fare and send it to them as filial piety. 10 years without ever going home. And still she was called unfilial, worse than a dog. Anyone would lose their heart. The hospital hallway was chaos, dogs barking, chickens flying. No one stepped in to stop it. It was a family matter. Seeing Evelyn as fast as a rabbit, Diana's eyes gleamed. Evelyn, stop running. Mom's health isn't good, don't make her more upset. Just take a few hits, what's the harm? Mom's just bluffing, putting on an act, she spouted righteous words while moving forward, cutting off Evelyn's path. The front and back were blocked, huh? Evelyn raised an eyebrow, her eyes flashing with mockery. Such a high-quality green tea. Not only that, Diana grabbed Evelyn's clothes and pushed her toward Rose. Just as Rose's slap was about to land, Evelyn sidestepped nimbly and pulled Diana in front of her. Thwack, thwack. The whole world went quiet. Diana's fair face immediately swelled up, 5 red finger marks clearly etched into her cheek. The force was immense. Rose and Diana both froze. How did that happen? Whoa. In that moment, Evelyn acted like a little troublemaker, making an exaggerated expression. Little sister, a few hits don't hurt, Mom's just bluffing. Don't cry now. Sarcasm, anyone could see it. Someone in the crowd laughed. God damn, that was hilarious. Laughter spread like a contagion. Everyone roared. Diana's head hurt, her face hurt, but her heart hurt most. She'd been hit again? What was even more unbearable was the laughter, like laughing at her, mocking her for being too clever by half. She felt like her thoughts had been seen through. Her body swayed, and she crumpled to the ground, pretending to faint. Evelyn glanced at her casually. Fainting with the eyelids still twitching? Playing the fake faint game with her? Ha! Diana. Rose rushed to hold her youngest daughter, then turned to glare at Evelyn. It was all her fault. Evelyn suddenly shrieked. Mom, you made little sister miscarry. And she's not even married yet. Boom. The scene exploded into noise. Diana couldn't take it anymore. She jumped up in fury, abandoning the fake faint. You're the one who miscarried. Your whole family miscarried. Damn it, no one bullied people like this. Everyone stared. So she was faking it? Such a scheming mind. Evelyn looked at her quietly and answered seriously. Mom's too old to have a baby. Dad and brother couldn't get pregnant even if they had sex change surgery. Little sister, are you confused? See how honest and upright she was, nothing like her crafty little sister. Diana nearly exploded. Mom, look. She's framing me again. What did I ever do to her? I'm still a virgin, I've never even held a man's hand. Rose was also frantic. Her youngest daughter's fiancé's family was well off. They were marrying up. She was counting on that future son-in-law to lift the reeds. Evelyn, apologize right now. Tell everyone that you're jealous and deliberately framed your sister. Evelyn stared blankly at Diana's backside. Not pregnant? Then what's that? Rose followed her gaze and froze. Diana's snow-white dress was stained with fresh red blood, a large patch. Appalling. Even Rose was suspicious, let alone the crowd. Everyone watched Diana like she was a freak show. Pretty, gentle, but so morally loose. Still claiming her sister was jealous of her? Ha! Shameless. Diana felt something wrong, pulled her dress back to look, bright red blood. Her vision went black. Doctor, save my baby. She'd only done it twice and was already pregnant? She hadn't felt a thing. Never mind, if she had a baby in her belly, she could lock in the marriage. Rose. Damn. Evelyn. Whoa. The crowd. And she was a virgin who'd never held a man's hand? A scream came from the obstetrics department. Doctor, what did you say? Say that again. The obstetrician said flatly, not pregnant. It's her period. You have irregular cycles, don't you? Just a heavy flow this time. Diana wanted to die. She did have irregular periods, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3. No pattern. But of all times, now? Evelyn stood at the door, listening clearly. She laughed silently. Ha ha ha. See? Don't wear a white dress. Showing off brings bad luck. Okay. Time to go. Even though she'd caused a huge misunderstanding, before Rose and Diana even left the hospital, the news had spread. The hospital was close to the factory. Workers came here. Someone at the scene knew the Reeds, and the story of Diana being beaten by her mother into a miscarriage of a bastard child spread fast. Word was, the Reeds' youngest daughter, Diana, was pregnant with a bastard, she admitted it herself. And she was so evil, she was sleeping with men and blaming her sister. And Rose was so blind, she defended the loose daughter and beat the honest one. By the time the Reeds got home, the whole factory and neighborhood knew. The Reeds lived in workers' housing, all colleagues. One person knew, everyone knew. On the way home, Diana felt strange looks from everyone. Her heart was uneasy. At her doorstep, neighbors poured out. Oh, isn't this Diana? You look awful, did you miscarry? Couldn't keep the baby? Eat some brown sugar eggs. Diana broke down. Who told you I miscarried? You can't say things like that. A neighbor gave her a cold look. Stop pretending. Always acting like a lamb, but really, Come on now, she's a good girl who's never held a man's hand. Yeah, a miracle, pregnant without touching a man. First time I've seen it. What an education. They sneered without mercy. The Reeds weren't well liked, just because she'd gone to some nursing program, they acted superior and looked down on everyone's kids. Diana felt like ice water had been dumped on her. The whole world turned gray. Rose erupted. Shut your mouths. My Diana has always been a good girl. Save some decency. Everyone rolled their eyes. Good girl, shameless. You can do it but not have it said? Fine. I suggest you marry her off quickly. What a disgrace. It wasn't me, Diana's face was ashen. Then an idea struck. She said quickly, it was my sister. She's pregnant. Dump the crap on Evelyn. If Evelyn hadn't made a scene, Diana wouldn't be in this mess. A poor Taoist dies, but a fellow Taoist must die too. Rose blinked, glanced at her youngest daughter. Diana gave her a pitiful look. Rose's heart softened. Fine. Right, it was Evelyn. That's why she fainted at the factory. I already scolded her. Don't gang up on her anymore. The neighbors stared with wide eyes. This Diana, evil to the bone, stabbing her own sister in the back. I've seen shameless people, but never this shameless. Poor Evelyn, to have such despicable family. Evelyn came from your womb? Or was she adopted? Such a good, honest, filial girl. People know the truth in their hearts. Come on, let's go spread the word about this mother and daughter. They cursed and left. No matter how Rose and Diana denied it, no one believed them. Rose swore loudly. Diana watched the retreating backs, her heart cold. Why wouldn't anyone believe her? Back home, a slap landed on Diana's face, the third time that day. 3 meals of slaps. Diana was numb. Why always her? Rose immediately shielded her. Harold, why are you hitting her? She's already upset. Harold had endured mockery from his co-workers all day. Everyone asked him how he'd raised his daughters. Some even grinned and asked for red eggs. Red eggs were for newborns. The anger inside him exploded when he saw Diana. I don't have such an immoral daughter. She's shamed our ancestors for generations. Marry her off immediately, I don't want to see her anymore. Rose frowned. I told you, it was Evelyn. On the way back, they'd wanted to take Evelyn home and give her a proper beating, but she was nowhere to be found. They had to leave disappointed. Harold didn't care much about either daughter. He was counting on his son to support him in old age. People saw it with their own eyes, it was Diana. Not just one person. You think changing your story will shut everyone up? Wake up. How did you raise her? No matter how they stirred the muddy water, they couldn't fool anyone, not even the neighbors. Rose was troubled. Who didn't want a good reputation? But things were already like this. What could she do? It's not that big a deal. Diana said she'll talk to her boyfriend and move up the engagement date. We'll lock in the match. The bride price won't be small, it'll make the Reeds proud. Harold paused and looked at his pale-faced youngest daughter. Diana nodded at him, a silent admission. In the face of profit, everything else was smoke. As long as she delivered enough benefits, her family would worship her. That was the reality. The sister-in-law, Martha, popped out of her room, all smiles. This is good news. Just get them married, and everything will calm down. The gossip outside will stop on its own. Let's all sit down and discuss this properly. Diana shot her a cold glance. Always eavesdropping. She'd never liked her greedy sister-in-law. But Martha's position in the family was higher, she'd given birth to the precious grandson. As for the storm in the Reed family, Evelyn knew nothing and didn't care. She was too busy. The next day, she was discharged. She didn't go home to pack. She moved straight into the factory dormitory. The dorm room held 10 people, all with different personalities, but most were kind and warm. Seeing that Evelyn had nothing, not even a change of clothes, they felt pity. Evelyn, why didn't you go home for your things? Evelyn sighed. Can't go back anymore. I've offended the family. The truth was, she didn't want to. The clothes were all Rose's hand-me-downs, patched, Diana's old shoes. Everything else was shared, none of it was hers. Why give them an excuse to say she'd taken anything valuable? Everyone was indignant for her. How could they blame you? Diana's the one who misbehaved and tried to drag you down with her. She's got no conscience. They'd heard that Diana was spreading rumors and slinging mud at her own sister. It pushed everyone's patience. People had limits. Evelyn's face dimmed, clearly hurt, but she never said a bad word about her family. Forget it. Let's not talk about unhappy things. Don't worry, whatever happens, I'll face it bravely. The contrast made Diana look like scum. Everyone sympathized with Evelyn and hated the Reeds even more. Megan took Evelyn to the department store to buy necessities. Megan's aunt worked there as a clerk and could discreetly get some discounted overstock items, slightly flawed but usable, and cheap. Aunt Megan liked honest Evelyn, and she'd saved her niece, so she took Evelyn to the warehouse to pick things out. Evelyn got basics, washcloths, a basin, sheets, soap, plus 2 changes of clothes and bedding. That used up a month's salary advance. Money went fast. She couldn't just save, she needed more income. Settled into the dorm, she went out every morning and came back late, not wandering, but going to the library to study hard. She read every agricultural technique book available. Once she had a plan, she started writing. 2 possible book titles: An Educated Youth's Farming Journal or Fiery Youth, My 10 Years of Country Farming. She was leaning toward the first, but as she wrote, an idea struck her. She could also write it as creative nonfiction, a documentary-style book. The focus would be different, but some materials overlapped. Creative nonfiction, factual but with a fictionalized protagonist, was popular. She could earn some royalties. With the outline in mind, the words flowed. The first chapter, 5,000 words, came out fast. Knock, knock. A tap on the table. Evelyn looked up. It was Evan. He was wearing a spotless white shirt, radiating a clean, pure aura. She smiled slightly. Funny meeting you here. Her bright smile, dark eyes full of starlight, made Evan's chest feel like it had been struck, slightly numb. The corners of his mouth lifted. Some people, once you meet them, a single glance is an eternity. The Reed family had only 3 rooms, adding up to barely 300 square feet. Cramped and tiny, the living room doubled as a bedroom for the 2 sisters during the night. Now that Evelyn had moved into the dormitory, Diana had the space to herself. That should have been a good thing. But Diana was being run ragged, doing housework all day long, so she'd escaped to the school dormitory and only came home on weekends to eat and run. Before, Evelyn had done all the housework by herself. The Reeds were used to coming home to hot food and steamy soup, free to nitpick and complain. Now that Evelyn was gone, the Reeds' hard times had begun. Meals were thrown together haphazardly. The house was a mess, like a junkyard. Harold yelled at Rose. Rose yelled right back. They fought every single day without rest. Did Rose think it was easy doing laundry for the whole family every day? She worked day labor jobs, came home exhausted, and still had to wait on everyone hand and foot, and then get yelled at? How could she be happy? She not only yelled at her husband, but also called her daughter-in-law lazy and unfilial, a sly cheat. It hadn't been long since she and Martha had been getting along just fine, playing with the baby together. Martha was furious. She made 3 meals a day, went to work, took care of her child, she was exhausted beyond reason. She'd suggested more than once that they call Evelyn back home to work. The whole family agreed, housework seemed like nothing, but actually doing it was exhausting. Unfortunately, when they asked someone to pass the message, Evelyn ignored them completely. When they tried to corner her in person, they couldn't even find her. They couldn't camp out every day, they were all too busy. So half a month had passed, and the Reed household was boiling over, dogs barking, chickens flying. But not everything was bad. There was good news. Diana was getting engaged. Her fiancé's family was excellent in every way, they were cadres, basically local officials. This was like a phoenix flying up to a tall branch, and she could lift the Reeds along with her. Everyone eagerly awaited the engagement day. They got up at dawn to clean the house, butcher chickens and slaughter sheep, busy as bees. Relatives and friends all came to help. Inside and out, the atmosphere was festive, more lively than New Year's. Diana was beautifully made up, surrounded by people flattering and currying favor. She was immensely pleased, though she acted demure on her face. Someone suddenly remembered one missing person. Evelyn hasn't come back? Not even once? The Reeds' faces fell. Rose grew angrier. I might as well have never given birth to that daughter. I don't care. I have Diana, that's enough. Diana is so wonderful, filial, educated, and about to become a madam. Right, Diana is amazing, the most promising of the younger generation. Sister, you've raised such a good daughter. We're so envious. Of course. Diana has been smart since she was little. I always knew she'd go far, Diana's eyes flickered. Mom, Dad, Evelyn still hasn't come? Does she not want this family anymore? Or does she not want to see me do well? She's my own sister. If she's not here, what will the groom's family think? That poured oil on the fire. The Reeds grew even angrier. They immediately sent a few relatives to the factory to force Evelyn to come home. When she got back, they'd beat her black and blue so she'd learn some manners. But they waited and waited. The messenger came back and said Evelyn wasn't at the factory, she'd left early in the morning. Diana's smile collapsed. She'd calculated 10,000 possibilities but hadn't counted on Evelyn not showing up. Was she lying last night? How infuriating. The Reeds cursed and fumed. Relatives and friends either tried to calm them down or fanned the flames. The noise was deafening. They didn't wait for Evelyn, but the grooms. Family arrived first. The Larsons are here. On bicycles, more than a dozen of them. Everyone got excited and rushed out to greet them. A group of people on bicycles rolled up. At the front was a young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes, regular features, wearing the most popular white shirt. A little red flower was pinned to his chest. He looked cheerful and full of joy. This was the hero of the day, Kyle Larson. Behind him came the Larson family and a few close friends, noisy and boisterous. "You're here." Kyle looked affectionately at his fiancée, his eyes full of love. Diana, wearing a bright red shirt, glanced at him shyly, her eyes carrying emotion, her cheeks flushed. Kyle loved her coy, charming demeanor, and her wildness in bed. His heart couldn't help but heat up. The two young people exchanged loving glances, the atmosphere very sweet. The Reeds watched, delighted, and enthusiastically welcomed their future in-laws. But Kyle's parents had stern expressions, not a trace of joy. Their tone was stiff and forced. The Reeds pretended not to notice, warmly offering them brown sugar water. This marriage was already marrying up, what was a little humiliation? In-laws would grow old eventually. Bear with it for a few years, have a child, and then you could turn the tables. Mrs. Larson was dressed impeccably, wearing shiny black leather shoes, looking very proud. But her eyes were set at a slant and looked extremely harsh. "Oh. Why don't I see your eldest daughter?" Harold's expression froze. She was digging already? Rose cursed Evelyn silently in her heart, then smiled appeasingly. "That child worked the night shift last night, she's probably still resting. But I've already sent someone to get her." What else could she do? Evelyn wouldn't even show her face, they couldn't beat her even if they wanted to. Mrs. Larson nodded arrogantly, radiating haughtiness. "That's good. On occasions like this, everyone must be present. It's only proper. Missing one person makes the marriage less perfect." Damn it. What proper was she talking about? She was clearly digging for flaws. The Larsons made it plain they looked down on their in-laws. Even though their son had pressured them into bowing, they didn't truly accept this match. But the two families were mismatched in status, so the Reeds instinctively lowered their heads. Just then, a soft laugh rang out. "Am I late?" "Sorry, I was busy." The voice was pleasant to the ear, like a clear stream bubbling. Everyone turned as one. A short-haired young woman walked toward them, the corners of her mouth lifted in a smile, her brows relaxed. She was simply dressed, carrying a backpack, with a scholarly, easygoing air. It was Evelyn. In fact, she'd been reading at the noodle shop not far away. When she saw this crowd pass by, she'd leisurely followed. Rose had been simmering with frustration in front of the Larsons. Seeing Evelyn walk in, she finally had a target. "Evelyn Reed, you show up now? Do you have any respect for this family?" "Huh?" she shouted viciously, with no regard for her daughter's dignity. Evelyn didn't get angry. Instead, she smiled gently. "Mom, I told you I was busy. You're a little hard of hearing, you should go to the hospital and get that checked." Everyone paused. Was that filial? Or sarcastic? You, Rose trembled with rage and charged forward to hit her. Evelyn was ready. Her figure flashed, and she dodged behind Mrs. Larson, only her bright eyes visible above the woman's shoulder, as if to say, come on, let's do this together." Rose's hand was raised high, but with her in-laws right in front of her, she choked on her anger. "You dare run?" Evelyn smiled, eyes squinting. Confucius said, "For small beatings, endure, for big beatings, run." That's true filial piety. If I get hurt, you'll hurt too, Mom. I can't bear that. Besides, on such a happy occasion, let's mind our manners. Don't make people laugh, okay? She opened her mouth and said all the right things, intentionally so, but every sentence was reasonable, leaving no room for rebuttal. The Reeds stared blankly. When had she become so smooth-tongued, spouting such big principles? Diana's eyes flickered, then she smiled sweetly. Mom, Evelyn's finally made it back. We should be grateful she still bothers to come. The words were laced with venom, like needles wrapped in silk. She pulled Evelyn over and linked arms with her affectionately. Evelyn, come here. Let me introduce you to everyone. These are my future in-laws. They're important cadres, people of status and influence. Mr. and Mrs. Larson glanced at Evelyn with some restraint. This was the eldest Reed daughter? She wasn't as pretty or fair-skinned as Diana, but her bearing wasn't bad, she seemed well-educated. Wait, hadn't they heard the eldest daughter was nothing special, uneducated, no skills, a rural youth for 10 years? What was this calm, composed aura? Evelyn showed no shyness or nervousness. She greeted them graciously and naturally. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Larson. Nice to meet you. Enjoy yourselves, eat well. Not arrogant, not fawning, her eyes clear, not a trace of flattery. Mr. Larson couldn't help but feel intrigued. This woman was nothing like the rest of the Reeds. If the Reeds had this kind of backbone, he wouldn't have opposed the match. Cadre family, actually, it was mostly inherited influence. He and his wife both held minor section chief positions in a state-run unit. Mostly ceremonial. It sounded good, but they had no real power, mainly because their personal abilities were limited. Still, compared to the Reeds, they were far superior. Diana finished bragging about her in-laws, then bragged about her man. This is my man, your future brother-in-law, Kyle Larson. For now, he's an elementary school teacher. She looked proud, like she'd found a treasure. Why for now? Because he'd get promoted to the Education Bureau later and become an official. This is my sister, Evelyn. She loves me so much. Evelyn looked over flatly. A stiff face met her eyes. Countless old memories surged into her mind, bitter, hard to bear. Her eye sockets warmed. Kyle stared at her in a daze. This was Evelyn? Why didn't she match his memory? Her manner was natural and open, her smile bright, her clothes neat and clean. Her back was straight, her gaze unflinching, confident. Their eyes met. Their expressions were different. The air was thick with awkwardness. Everyone felt something was off. Diana's heart tightened. Why wasn't this going according to plan? Why is no one talking? Evelyn, you're older, say hello. This is your own brother-in-law. The words own brother-in-law carried a heavy implication, making people's hearts skip. Evelyn suppressed the bitterness that wasn't hers, tilted her head, and smiled faintly. What was meant to come, would come. But this time, she wouldn't let the scumbag and the scheming woman have their way. Seeing her silent, Diana's expression soured. She viciously pinched Evelyn's arm. Everyone on the scene had felt the weirdness. They exchanged glances, something was brewing. Kyle couldn't bear the probing looks. He gritted his teeth and spoke first. Evelyn, nice to meet you. I look forward to getting along. Nice to meet you? A faint chill flickered in Evelyn's eyes, a faint smile that wasn't quite a smile. Kyle's heart tightened uncomfortably. Diana was furious inside, but kept a smile on her face. Kyle, my sister still doesn't have a boyfriend. If you know any suitable guys, introduce them. Her standards aren't high, just being a man is fine. Even divorced with kids is okay. She's getting older, can't keep waiting. It sounded like she wanted the best for Evelyn, but just being a man? Who belittles their own sister like that? Kyle looked at his fiancé's anxious eyes and felt a pang of sympathy. He went along with her. I'll see what I can do. Their back and forth made Evelyn want to vomit. She hadn't planned to make things hard for these two, but they insisted on making her sick. Fine, no more politeness. Thanks, you too. Evelyn smiled, genuinely warm. But, an ex-boyfriend introducing marriage prospects to his ex-girlfriend is a little inappropriate. I think we should keep our distance. Boom, like a heavy bomb exploded in the crowd. Everyone froze. What? Ex-boyfriend? What's going on? Kyle stared in disbelief. How dare she say it? How dare? She was supposed to be meek and submissive, swallowing her blood in silence. What drug had she taken? Diana's face changed violently. She'd carefully orchestrated this scene to crush Evelyn and get some revenge. She'd been sure Evelyn would consider the bigger picture, value family, swallow the bitterness and pretend it was sweet. Because Diana knew Evelyn cared too much about face and family. But now what? Panic rose in her heart. No, this wasn't the result she wanted. Evelyn, you're having another episode. Every time you see a slightly decent man, you start fantasizing. Keep this up and you'll end up in the psych ward. That was vicious, implying Evelyn was so desperate for men she was mentally ill. And Rose jumped in to back her up. Yes, my eldest daughter has never been right in the head, always talking nonsense. Evelyn, I know you're getting older and missing men, but you can't just grab your own brother-in-law and make up lies. You don't care about face, but we do. Rose didn't care about the truth. She only cared about maintaining the status quo, whatever benefited the Reeds. Harold felt the same. Wrong one daughter, make the whole family happy, that was a profitable deal. He barked angrily. Say one more word of nonsense, and don't blame me for getting rough. Under such heavy pressure, Evelyn's smile never wavered. It was still radiant as spring. Why so worked up? It's all in the past. Don't you agree, Kyle? They thought she was easy meat? All of them were worthless. Everyone was watching. What else could Kyle do? He refused to admit it, to the death. I've never met you. Big sister, please don't joke. Diana breathed a sigh of relief, a hint of triumph in her eyes. He had chosen her. Rose snorted coldly. You heard him, he doesn't know you. Don't be so shameless. Fine. If you say we've never met, then we've never met. Evelyn smiled lightly and calmly took out a photograph. Oh, by the way, take this picture. Tear it up, burn it, it's up to you. It's not appropriate for me to keep it. She deliberately held the photo high, so everyone could see it clearly. In the photo, a young man and woman stood shoulder to shoulder, bodies close, clearly more than friends. It was a picture of Evelyn and Kyle, much younger, barely out of their teens, looking innocent. They had dated before. In that remote rural village, they'd kept each other warm, the warmest memory of the original owner's life. But it was also the beginning of the tragedy. They'd promised to return to the city together. But Kyle, using his family's connections, had left first. The day before, he'd sweet-talked the original owner into giving him all the little money she had left. Then he'd gone silent, abandoning her alone to face all the hardship and pain. When they met again, it was at her own sister's engagement party, watching the man she loved being sweet with her own sister. It was a devastating blow. But the original owner was weak and too kind. She gritted her teeth and bore it, even afraid that telling the truth would hurt her sister. She painfully hid the secret. She even stripped herself bare to give her sister a respectable wedding. Later, she learned that the sister she loved most had known all along, and had deliberately shown off in front of her, provoking her, feeding her own vanity. How sad, how pitiful. The evidence was right there. What could they deny? Everyone's expressions changed, especially the Larsons and the Reeds. It was like a thunderbolt. So messy, messing around with both sisters. Kyle was shocked and furious. How could she treat him like this? Wasn't she the one who loved him the most, would rather die than hurt him? Women's words, so unreliable. Diana's chest churned with rage. It felt like her face had been ripped off, shame and fury burning inside her. Evelyn, where did you get that photo? Did you secretly look at photos of me and Kyle and fake this? You're so calculating. She racked her brain for excuses, playing the victim. But the crowd involuntarily stepped back a few paces. This woman, she was the scariest of all. Did she really not know? Not likely. That excuse wouldn't convince anyone. The photo showed what they'd looked like years ago, noticeably different from now. How could it be faked? Evelyn had long known her sister had no limits, but she hadn't expected such shamelessness. She couldn't help but strike back. He's a man I didn't want, whoever wants him, take him. Little sister, you always loved picking through my old things. Take him, I'm giving him to you. Only you would treat such junk like treasure. The words dropped, and the whole place fell silent. Yep. Kyle was junk. Used goods. No one wanted him. The Larsons were extremely embarrassed. Diana felt like she'd been force-fed dog shit, nauseating. She was the scrap picker? Taking what Evelyn didn't want? If Evelyn had fought over him, Diana would have been smug and proud. But what Evelyn didn't want? Kyle's face burned, whether from anger or shame. Evelyn. Evelyn shook her head slightly. Look at all the disgusting things he'd done. He was a useless scholar, couldn't even farm, couldn't feed himself. The original owner pitied him and gave him a sweet potato, and he latched on. He had pursued her aggressively for a long time before she gave in. After they got together, she gave him more than half of her saved-up rations, barely enough to keep him full. Then, as soon as he got a chance to go home, he dumped her without even a word of explanation. Absolute trash. Kyle, back when we were rural youth, you lived off me, ate my food. Because of your pretty face, I didn't make you pay me back. If you have any gratitude, treat my sister well. I really do love her. She spoke magnanimously, but the humiliation in her words was brutal. Pretty face? He couldn't bear it. He shouted in anger. That's not true. You're slandering me. Evelyn wasn't scared. Her eyes sparkled with something like anticipation. Fine. Then sue me. Let the court investigate thoroughly. Our time in Millbrook isn't a secret. Just ask a few of the locals, the truth will come out. Not difficult at all. She was so confident, so unafraid, she clearly had backup. Kyle, on the other hand, was a coward. He couldn't withstand an investigation. You're Diana's sister. Out of respect for her, I won't sue you. But don't spread lies anymore. Everyone understood. They couldn't help but curse him in their hearts. A gentleman on the outside, but underneath, a blazing scumbag. Evelyn didn't accept the mercy. That makes me unhappy. You won't sue me? Then I'll sue you, for defamation. I hear that charge carries a year in prison. I wonder, can someone who's been to prison still be a teacher? He wanted to get into the Education Bureau? She'd cut that path off completely. Teacher ethics mattered. No good reputation, forget about the Education Bureau. She dropped that line, turned, and walked toward the door, extremely decisive. No one expected her to be so fierce, so ruthless, and yet she held the moral high ground. Kyle's head buzzed. He broke out in cold sweat. Don't go. You can't. Diana stamped her foot anxiously. Stop her. The two families were about to lose their minds. Everyone rushed to block her, she absolutely could not go to court. Rose was livid. This is your sister's happy day. How dare you cause trouble? I'll disown you. That kind of threat worked on the original owner, but on Evelyn, it only fueled her resistance. Mom and Dad, did you give birth to me or not? When outsiders bully your daughter, you help them? Have you had your spines broken? Are you so low down? Or do you think this daughter is worth less than a stranger with no blood ties? Does he bring you more benefits? You're the kind of people who would suck up to anyone with milk, traitors, straight up. Harold's old face turned bright red. He trembled with rage. Shut up. I'm your father, you listen to me. Get inside. These people only dared bully the honest and the kind. Evelyn's lips curled into a cold smile. No. Unless you all join forces to kill me today, otherwise, I will get justice. She suddenly lunged toward a corner, grabbed a cleaver that had been used to butcher chickens, and shoved it into Harold's hands. Here, cleaver. Cut. She was fierce, unafraid of death, cowing the whole crowd. Kill her? Impossible. This was a lawful society. Even a father who killed his daughter would go to prison. Even if by some stretch he avoided jail, who would ever associate with the Reeds again? Jobs, school, marriage, all would be affected. Ordinary people wouldn't dare marry into the Reed family. Besides, Harold was just an ordinary man. He dared slaughter chickens, beat his children, act tough, that was it. His hands were shaking. He couldn't even hold the cleaver. You little brat, you, looking into his second daughter's icy eyes, his heart trembled. She had truly given up on them. Evelyn's gaze swept across the whole scene. Everyone who met it involuntarily shivered. The great demon king's pressure. Her eyes finally landed on Kyle. She looked at him with pure contempt. People live for a bit of dignity. I don't care about this low-life man. I don't care about my little sister crying and screaming, throwing herself at him, why would I? Trash that I don't want anyone can pick it up. The Larsons' trash felt like 1,000 arrows piercing their hearts. Diana, the one throwing herself at him, felt like collapsing. Seeing through her was one thing, saying it out loud? She ground her teeth. She had to salvage this. To everyone's shock, Rose, who had always spoiled Diana, stomped her foot and hissed, "Make a scene, keep making a scene, see if I don't sell you off to a cripple in the mountains." She revealed her true colors, a mother who would sell her own daughter. Evelyn laughed. Mom, are you talking about me? Or Diana? That's illegal, you know. I'd advise you to be careful, don't say things you shouldn't. Rose choked, looking ugly. Diana had gone pale as paper. Sell her to a cripple in the mountains? Was she just merchandise? No, impossible. Rose loved her. Rose had never treated her like that. Her mother only said that to threaten Evelyn. Yes, that had to be it. But the look in Rose's eyes just now, it wasn't like she was joking. Diana's heart went cold. Seeing Diana's expression, Evelyn shook her head slightly. Finally feeling what it was like to be the unfavored one? The Reeds had never cared about any daughter, only about profit. Evelyn didn't plan to argue anymore. The purpose had been served, exposing the real faces of both families. No matter how this engagement ended, these two families were thoroughly disgraced. She turned and walked out. I'm leaving, too busy. You, Evelyn, stop right there. Diana grabbed Evelyn, her face clouded. You caused this mess, and you're just walking away? Today, you have to make everything clear and return my innocence. Innocence? After all this, she still had the nerve to say innocence? Everyone around clicked their tongues. Truly the most shameless. Sure. Evelyn tilted her head, looking at her sister quietly. How do you want me to explain? Diana ground her teeth. First, admit to everyone that you were jealous of me and deliberately tried to ruin me. Evelyn nodded. Okay. I'll admit it. Anything else? Second, tell everyone that the person in that photo isn't Kyle, and that you two never had any relationship. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. And if I don't? Diana's eyes flashed with malice. Then I'll tell everyone how you seduced him, threw yourself at him, and when he dumped you, you went crazy, even tried to stab him. You're just a lovesick ghost. The onlookers gasped. A younger sister, with her own engagement, talking about her biological sister like that. Too vicious. Kyle couldn't stand it anymore. He pulled Diana. That's enough. Let's go back first. He knew perfectly well what had happened between them. Even if Evelyn had been the one pursuing him, which was not true, there was no need to humiliate her in public. Right now, his only thought was to minimize the damage. But Diana was stubborn. She wanted to crush Evelyn completely. Scared? You know what she's like, the kind who'll stick to any man that looks at her twice. She's done it before, to the village captain's son, to the teacher at the village school. She's a slut who can't live without a man for one day. She wanted to strip Evelyn's dignity away. But Evelyn wasn't the least bit angry, she even laughed. Little sister, I didn't know you knew all that. But you forgot one thing, you came with me to meet those people. Every single time. She looked at Diana with gentle eyes. You said you were curious, so I took you along. Now I remember, the one who kept trying to lift their shirts was you. You also told me, Evelyn, if you don't like them, let me have them. So it's my turn to ask, are you a slut who can't live without a man? Diana lost her mind. You're lying. Oh. Then shall we go to the countryside and find those people to confront? There's also the affair with the village chief's son, you two even went into the cornfield together. Don't you remember? It rained that day, you came back covered in mud and grass. I washed your clothes for you. Evelyn spoke calmly, but every sentence was a knife. The expressions of the crowd grew even stranger. They looked at Diana with contempt. A woman with no bottom line, seducing village officials, sleeping around, and then acting pure? That's enough. Kyle barked. Stop talking, all of you. Go home. He couldn't stand it, and he couldn't stand how Diana was making things worse. He grabbed Diana's arm and pulled her inside. Diana was stunned. Kyle, are you taking her side? She's lying. I didn't do any of that. Kyle's face was ugly. We'll talk at home. Diana struggled free, her eyes red. You don't believe me? You'd rather believe her, an outsider? She pointed at Evelyn. She's a liar. Evelyn shrugged. Believe it or not my problem. I'm just an outsider. She smiled and turned away. This time, no one dared stop her. Diana was left behind, drenched in cold sweat. Everything, her reputation, her marriage, was crumbling. And Kyle, would he still want her? She felt like she was falling into an abyss, with no one to pull her up. The commotion had lasted most of the day. By the time Evelyn reached the library, it was already early afternoon. She found a seat by the window, opened her notebook, and started writing. The words flowed like a fountain, fast and smooth. She was completely immersed, unaffected by anything that had happened before. Evan arrived an hour later. He sat across from her without a word, just watching her work. Only when the sky darkened did Evelyn put down her pen. She looked up and saw Evan staring at her, a cup of black coffee beside him. When did you get here? 2 hours ago. You were too focused, I didn't want to interrupt. Evelyn smiled, put away her things, and they went to eat together. Walking on the tree-lined street, Evelyn suddenly asked, Evan, do you think I did something wrong? Evan thought seriously. No. You just protected yourself. But I exposed my own sister's secrets. She attacked you first. You just defended yourself. And, the truth is never wrong to speak. Evelyn laughed softly. You always know what to say. Evan looked at her, his eyes deep. I don't say the right things, I just say the truth. The truth is, Evelyn, you're a good person. You've been hurt too much. But you still have a light inside you, one that never goes out. Evelyn's throat tightened. No one had ever said those words to her. To the original owner, no one had ever said them either. Thank you, Evan. She turned and continued walking. Evan followed silently beside her. The street lights came on, stretching their shadows long. That night, Evelyn lay in her dormitory bunk, flipping through the latest chapter she had written. Satisfied, she closed her notebook. Tomorrow, she would go to see Professor Thornton. She smiled slightly. A new chapter of her life was about to begin. And she was ready. Outside the window, the distant sound of a train whistle faded into the night. In Millbrook, Pennsylvania, a new story had just begun. When Evelyn returned to the dormitory, her roommates swarmed around her like a flock of hens. Evelyn, you're finally back. Where have you been? Your family has been looking for you like crazy, did something happen? They didn't tell you? Evelyn put her backpack on the bed and stretched. Well, they're too ashamed to say. Seeing her expression, the others grew worried. What happened? Evelyn wasn't going to protect them, and it wasn't like the story would stay hidden. Nothing much. I just found out my future brother-in-law is my ex-boyfriend. She said it so casually, but her roommates were stunned. That was too crazy. No way, really? So, you couldn't take it and ran off? How could this happen? Evelyn laughed, a bitter laugh. No. They already knew. They kept it from me. Honestly, they didn't need to. I don't want him anymore, anyone who wants him can have him. I just didn't like them threatening to sue me. The information overload was too much. Her roommates couldn't process it. They all knew? And they hid it from her? Where was their conscience? Sue you? Why? Evelyn looked tired. She turned and lay down on her bed, her face a little pale. That man was a freeloader, I supported him back then. Now he insists he doesn't know me, says I'm lying, and threatened to take me to court. She sighed heavily. That pissed me off. So I said, go ahead, sue me. I'll sue you right back. I guess they panicked. Everyone was speechless. The sheer audacity of that man was beyond imagination. And your sister, she knew all along? Evelyn closed her eyes, expressionless, looking exhausted. Yeah. That's why she's been targeting me. I finally woke up. She'd even sweet-talked me into borrowing money for her dowry, the whole 4 big items thing. The dormitory exploded with outrage. No way, that's beyond shameless. Back in those days, if a family gave you 1 or 2 big items, that was already generous. Everyone was just a regular worker, where would they get that much money? And a sister didn't have that kind of obligation. How could she even ask for the 4 big items without blushing? I've never seen such shameless women. Even if the man was something her sister didn't want, wasn't she disgusted? With any sisterly feeling at all, she wouldn't have picked that guy. Why should you have to pay for her dowry? Borrow money? Who does she think she is? Evelyn Reid never badmouthed her family, not a single word. She always praised them. Even if that good wasn't really good in other people's eyes. When someone like that suddenly acted differently, it meant she'd been deeply hurt. And it made sense, no one could take that kind of shock. Her personality change was understandable, and she won everyone's sympathy. That was exactly what Evelyn wanted, paving the way for the future. Soon, the story spread throughout the factory, from the foreman down to the janitor. Everyone felt immense pity for Evelyn. Evelyn came and went at odd hours. The Reeds tried to catch her again and again but always missed her. The factory workers kept their mouths shut and refused to give any information, which drove the Reeds crazy. If they couldn't find her, all their scheming was useless. Even when the Reeds spread rumors and tried to dump all the blame on Evelyn, desperately whitewashing themselves, no one believed them. People just sneered and told them not to be so biased. After all the commotion, it was payback for their extreme favoritism. Evelyn had anticipated this, so she'd seized the high ground in public opinion. Plus, the Reeds' own performance had been so over the top that it backfired, and they became the laughingstock. What's more, someone reported Kyle to the school. How could a man with such poor character be a teacher? He'd corrupt the children. Parents gathered and made a huge fuss. Kyle was suspended from work, and even with his connections, no one could save him, let alone get him into the Education Bureau. Diana was also put on academic probation. The nursing profession valued ethics, nurses were called angels in white for a reason. Poor character wouldn't be tolerated. Diana had struggled to get this far, she refused to leave school. She knelt at the school gate, weeping and wailing, begging for sympathy, disgusted the school leadership. Under pressure, the school didn't expel her but issued a severe demerit, recorded in her file, and put her on probation. That meant her future job prospects would be affected. If she caused any more scandals while at school, she'd be expelled. Of course, the engagement was off, the two families had become enemies. The Larsons were the ones who broke it off unilaterally, the Reeds tried desperately to cling to the relationship, groveling. Diana's reputation was ruined. Teachers and students at school looked down on her. She could only cling to Kyle for dear life. Even if she had no future career, marrying into the Larson family and becoming a housewife wasn't a bad option. Half a month later, Evelyn finally submitted her manuscript, 100,000 words, directly into Professor Thornton's hands. Professor Thornton was astonished. So fast? Had she cut corners? But the content, every single article was high quality. The ideas were fresh, professional. The more he read, the more excited he grew. Excellent, truly excellent. Evelyn, you are far more talented than I imagined. You have natural gifts and you work hard. I believe your future is limitless. On that point, Evelyn had no doubt. Thank you, Professor Thornton. She had only pointed the direction, the specifics would require experimentation. Evan watched, unable to hide his pride. I always knew Evelyn was an exceptionally talented agricultural technician. Evelyn smiled faintly at him, raising an eyebrow slightly. Evan's breath caught. She grew more confident every day, and more beautiful. Nothing could dim her light. Professor Thornton was completely absorbed in the manuscript, oblivious to the young people's silent exchange. The three discussed the book's content for a long time. After dinner, Evan walked Evelyn home. Professor Thornton was still excited. He immediately called his best friend to share his joy, and to show off his keen eye for talent. He discovered a gem, found someone to carry on his legacy. The moon was bright, casting silver light on the ground, dreamlike and surreal. Under the night sky, Evan pedaled his bicycle, his mood soaring. His legs pushed harder and harder. Evelyn sat behind him and poked his back lightly. Drop me off here. I want to rest tomorrow, no library. She'd submitted the manuscript, the first critical step was done. She could finally relax a little. Evan felt a jolt of electricity through his whole body. His ears burned, and he couldn't quite meet her eyes. Then, can we have dinner together tomorrow? I'll come get you. His shy, earnest demeanor made Evelyn laugh. He was kind of adorable. All right. Evelyn didn't have to get up early. She slept in, refusing to wake. Not until someone shook her. Evelyn, your parents are here. Evelyn frowned. They'd come early, couldn't she even sleep in? Her roommate thought she was scared and gently reassured her. Don't be afraid. If they give you trouble, go to management, go to the union. You're a member of this factory. Everyone was on Evelyn's side, that was the importance of controlling the narrative. Evelyn tousled her hair and sat up. Final battle, let's go. Harold and Rose Ridd stared at Evelyn, almost not recognizing her. Was this their daughter? Evelyn was wearing a white blouse and a beige skirt, clean, scholarly, with an undeniable aura. Her gaunt, pale face had filled out a little. Her skin was fairer, her figure no longer so frail. Her eyes were bright. The woman who had once looked perpetually miserable now seemed energetic, clear-eyed, generous, and composed. Gone was the foolish, submissive, self-sacrificing woman who had given everything for her family. Rose frowned. We have no money, and you're buying new clothes? You never think about this family, Evelyn was beyond annoyed. They really did treat their children like possessions. Is that all? Then I'm leaving. Rose choked, furious, and grabbed Evelyn's arm. Don't go, I'm not finished. Evelyn shook her hand off lightly and clasped her hands behind her back, clearly not wanting any contact with Rose. Rose's forced smile almost cracked. That little brat. Evelyn, we're family, she went on, trying to use family bonds to move Evelyn. First, she wanted Evelyn to step in and smooth things over, go to the school, put in a good word, help Diana and Kyle get their penalties removed. Second, and more importantly, she wanted Evelyn to find a way to get the two families back together, to put the engagement back on track. Rose even said, righteously, that this whole mess was Evelyn's fault, so Evelyn should clean it up. And she spoke as if she were doing Evelyn a favor, saying that from now on, they'd treat her properly. Those words were all Diana's coaching. Diana had said that a child deprived of love, just give her a little affection, and she'd weep with gratitude and be even more obedient than before. Harold chimed in too, one playing bad cop, one playing good cop. Hard and soft tactics to force Evelyn to submit. Evelyn closed her eyes and rested, not listening at all. Instead, she was thinking about her next step. Her 1-month sick leave was over. In theory she should go back to work, but she didn't want to return to manual labor. Things with Professor Thornton would probably take a little more time. There was a gap, she needed to bridge it well. Right now, this was an opportunity. After Rose talked herself hoarse and saw that Evelyn's mind was elsewhere, anger rose from her gut. Evelyn, do what I say right now. Evelyn yawned lazily. Looks like the Reed family's reputation isn't rotten enough yet. I'll have to try a little harder. The room fell silent. She was done acting. They'd already torn off the masks, who was she performing for? Even now, they still didn't see the situation clearly? Still trying to use family bonds to control her? But what family bonds? The original owner's plea to be free from emotional ties contained so much blood and tears. Her arrogant, defiant demeanor made the Reeds' faces darken. What did you say? Evelyn looked coldly at the man and woman in front of her. Parents who were so biased, who still wanted to crush her bones and suck her marrow, bleed her dry. Children were not their parents' possessions. Parents had a responsibility to care for them, not to trample and hurt them at will. Some people didn't deserve to be parents, not all parents loved their children. You two still don't get it, do you? The old Evelyn is dead. You all killed her together. The original owner hadn't asked her to care for her parents, so Evelyn had no mercy. The me of now will never let anyone manipulate me again. I live only for myself. Don't come to me with conditions, you're not worthy. Harold flew into a rage, pointing a finger at Evelyn's nose. This is unfilial. People will spit on you. Evelyn had been busy writing before, without the time or energy to deal with them. But now, she was free to settle things. A strange smile curled her lips. Go ahead, grab a random person on the street and ask them, who are they spitting on, me or you? The whole Reed family stinks so bad no one can stand it. Only I am pitted. My reputation is excellent. These words, an unbelievable thought rose in the Reeds' hearts. You, Rose trembled, inwardly shocked. You orchestrated all this? No, that's impossible. The daughter she gave birth to had been a block of wood, uneducated, stupid to death, not even knowing how to say a flattering word. Evelyn twirled a strand of hair, smiling like a flower, but the words that came out were the most terrifying. Just a small trick, hardly any effort at all. How do you like the return gift I gave the Reed family? But really, you have no one to blame but yourselves. You pushed too far. It's called where there's oppression, there's resistance. See, you've all driven me completely crazy. She even let out a creepy laugh, looking genuinely unhinged. Harold's hands and feet went cold. His heart fell like a stone into the deep ocean. Are you even human? We're your parents. Good parents deserved good children. Affection went both ways. If one side gave nothing, they couldn't demand it from the other. Evelyn shook her head slightly. They would never self-reflect, never feel they'd done anything wrong. So, they were destined to lose a daughter. I have serious doubts about that. Maybe there was a mix-up at the hospital. How could someone as kind and wonderful as me have such terrible relatives? Harold completely exploded. Fine, you won't acknowledge us. We don't want a heartless, disloyal daughter like you either. That job? That was ours to give, we're taking it back. And you're not allowed to live in our house anymore. Evelyn wasn't afraid, she even smiled faintly. That was exactly what she wanted. She smiled sweetly. Too bad, the factory only recognizes me. Oh, by the way, someone offered to buy my position. $500. I'm thinking about it, the Reeds panicked. You're dreaming. Don't you dare, that position belongs to the Reeds. Evelyn's eyes twinkled. I'm a Reed too, at least, I was. That's perfectly in line with factory policy. Harold roared. I'll cut ties with you right now. From now on, you're not a Reed. That doesn't count. Evelyn's tone was flat. Unless it's in writing, black ink on white paper. A thought flashed through Harold's mind. He grabbed Evelyn's arm. Let's go. We're going to the manager's office. Evelyn pretended to struggle a few times. I'm not going. Harold, thinking he'd found a weapon to control her, grew even more determined. You're going whether you like it or not. His dignity had been shredded by Evelyn, and he was furious. He had to crush her. Rose helped too, one on each side, dragging Evelyn along. Evelyn shouted loudly, looking helpless and forced. The commotion drew a large crowd. What are you doing? Let her go. The Reeds are bullies. What kind of parents are you? Don't be scared, Evelyn, we're all behind you. The Reeds' faces grew even uglier. They had become everyone's target, the villains, all thanks to Evelyn. They tried to explain that Evelyn had orchestrated everything, but no one believed them. They just asked one question, wasn't Diana's husband to be Evelyn's ex-boyfriend? That was impossible to deny. Everyone was furious. You're trying to bully Evelyn again? You have no conscience. The Reeds were red with rage, but they couldn't defend themselves. In their anger, they raised their fists to hit Evelyn, the instigator. That was like poking a hornet's nest. All the workers rushed in to stop them, cursing the Reeds up and down. Evelyn was safely behind Megan, her eyes downcast, hiding a faint sneer. Don't ask for trouble. Ding dong, the system's voice rang in her head, a little bit cute. But in Evelyn's eyes, this was a system that kept making dumb mistakes, usually useless. Host, per spacetime rules, no golden fingers, no cheating, no breaking the law, no violating basic ethics. The system rattled off a list of rules, none of which got a response from Evelyn. Host, cutting ties with the Reed parents violates the rules, the relationship between parent and child couldn't be broken. Just like that, and a host couldn't sever blood ties on behalf of the original owner. Evelyn's expression was indifferent. She had a system, but it was a piece of junk. Usually useless. All those spacetime rules, basically, they didn't want her to use a golden finger to solve problems. Too much power didn't necessarily make the original owner happy, and then they'd get negative reviews. Evelyn understood perfectly. I am following my superior's wishes, respecting their decisions. I am passive. Where's the violation? Even heaven can't find a single fault with me. As long as she didn't propose it, then it wasn't a violation. The system laughed dryly. Host, you're clearly exploiting loopholes in the rules. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Evelyn laughed back. If there's a loophole, it just means heaven permits it. Why keep a blood-sucking family around? Mao Do, you're an emotionless system, shut up. She blocked the system. The system exploded, it had told her not to call it Mao Do. That name was so ugly. The host was a hateful great demon king. The manager's office door burst open and a crowd flooded in. Harold rushed ahead and yelled. Manager, be our witness. From today onward, Evelyn is no longer a Reed. Complete severance. Everyone in the factory had known each other for decades, they were all old friends. The old manager was on the phone. Hearing that, he slammed down the receiver and glared at Harold. Harold, have you lost your mind? He ordered everyone else to leave, leaving only the 3 Reeds behind, then called the union chairman and the women's committee chair to help mediate. But the moment the Reeds opened their mouths, they angered the leadership. Trash-talking their own daughter, sinking her into the mud, spinning conspiracy theories, what kind of parents did that? Look at that poor Reed girl, eyes downcast, silent the whole time, not even defending herself. So much poise. Seeing that no one believed them, Harold was furious. What a good actress. He gritted his teeth, grabbed the pen and paper on the desk, and quickly wrote several lines. A declaration of severance. He didn't write just one copy, he wrote 3. He signed first, then made Rose sign. Both signed, then he threw it in Evelyn's face. Sign it. Harold. The factory leaders were furious. Who acted like this? Evelyn looked up, her clear eyes without a ripple. Are you sure you want to do this? Harold grew excited, like he'd gotten a shot of adrenaline. Severing relations was fake, wanting to take back the job was real. He wanted to get leverage over Evelyn so he could turn her back into the family's blood bag. We don't want such an unfilial daughter, always causing trouble, making the household a mess. Rose yelled too, all kinds of complaints and dislike. They were waiting for Evelyn to bow her head and beg for forgiveness. Evelyn looked at them with unfeeling eyes. Parents shouldn't act like this. The manager couldn't bear it. Harold, what's wrong with Evelyn? She's been responsible, obedient, honest. You'll regret treating her like this. Harold waved his hand. Manager, this is a family matter, stay out of it. Sign. Evelyn looked at Rose, a faint hint of sorrow in her eyes. Mom, you feel the same? Yes. Rose had thought it through, not just for the job, but also to cut all ties. Get rid of the troublemaker. As long as Evelyn was around, the house wouldn't be peaceful, and Diana and Kyle would have no future. She wouldn't let go of the Larsons. Evelyn sighed softly. I know you're both worried about my sister's future, but I'll give you a piece of advice. Kyle is not a good match. Don't throw yourselves at him. Rose didn't want to hear it. Shut up. Sign. Evelyn lowered her head, took the pen. Fine. If that's your wish, I'll honor it. Consider this the last thing I do for you as your daughter. She signed without hesitation. Rose looked relieved. Harold was stunned, he wanted to stop her but couldn't save face. Both sides had signed. The agreement was made. At Rose's insistence, the 3 factory leaders signed as witnesses. The manager saw Rose's eagerness and sneered inside. Maybe leaving the Reeds wasn't such a bad thing for Evelyn. Rose grabbed the agreement, secretly relieved, and still spat out cruel words. From now on, we're strangers. Don't even say hello if we pass on the street. I wish I'd never given birth to you. Fine. Evelyn clutched her own copy, closed her eyes, and sighed, making the factory leader's hearts ache. But in the Reeds' eyes, she was terrifying, such a good actress, fooling everyone around her. And Evelyn like that scared them and made them uneasy. So they hardened their hearts and played their last trump card. Manager, since she's no longer a Reed, I want her job back. I'm going to sell it. And since she's not an employee, she can't stay in the dormitory. And she took a 2-month salary advance, she's on her own. We're not responsible. Kicked out, no home, no dorm, no money, she'd be on the streets. No matter how smart she was, she'd have nothing. The factory leaders were dumbfounded. They wanted to cut off Evelyn's lifeline? That was vicious. They exchanged glances. Were they really her parents? Just then, a knock on the door. Several people walked in. Excuse me, who's the manager? It was Professor Thornton, his son Evan, an assistant, and an administrative officer from the university. Evan spotted Evelyn immediately, a flicker of worry in his eyes. Evelyn shook her head at him, she was fine. These people were all refined, well-dressed, clearly well-educated and of high status. The manager warmly greeted them. I'm the manager, and you are? Professor Thornton was a typical intellectual, not great at social niceties. He handed over a letter of introduction. I'm Professor Thornton from Millbrook Agricultural College. I'm here to transfer Evelyn Reed's personnel file. The room buzzed. What? Rose's voice was the highest, the most piercing, her expression one of utter shock. Professor Thornton took out another folder. Through special approval, Comrade Evelyn Reed is being hired as a regular employee of our college as a special talent. I'd like to request the factory's cooperation. Special talent? Everyone turned to look at Evelyn. Her expression didn't change, not proud, not nervous, extraordinary poise. So, she had already known? While everyone was still stunned, 2 more men rushed in. Wait. The middle-aged man in glasses pushed to the front and shouted impatiently. Comrade Evelyn Reed belongs to our institute. No one else should even think of competing with us. Professor Thornton bristled. He glared at the newcomer. Joe, how can you compete with me? That's not being a good friend. Damn it, he really had invited a wolf into his own house. He'd bragged to his old friend, and now the friend was after his treasure. Senior Technician Joe argued back righteously. Everyone wants talent. Your college wants her, why can't our Agritech Institute? You haven't even processed the paperwork yet. Professor Thornton, furious, turned on him. Hey, I came first. First come, first served, don't you understand that? Joe had also read Evelyn's manuscript. He'd been blown away and had immediately reported it to his leadership. Our director said, rules are dead, people are alive. The one who gets there first wins. The two middle-aged men, both highly respected, were about to come to blows over Evelyn. Everyone watched, stunned. Even Evelyn was a little surprised. What was going on? Evan walked to her side and explained softly. Senior Technician Joe was his father's old classmate and close friend, very tight. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Wouldn't have guessed. Evan couldn't help laughing. They argue all the time over small things, you get used to it. Uncle Joe read your manuscript. He called you a rare genius, but I didn't expect he'd make a move like this. He paused, lowering his voice. Don't go with him, okay? If you go there, it'll be harder for us to see each other. If she stayed at the university, they could see each other every day, eat together, discuss research. That would be wonderful. His voice was low, only Evelyn could hear. She bit her lip and smiled, but didn't give him an answer. Evan couldn't resist poking her arm lightly. Okay? This man was being so childish, Evelyn almost facepalmed. Their interaction didn't draw much attention, everyone was focused on the fight between the two educated men. One was a university professor, the other a lead technician at the Agritech Institute, both highly valued intellectuals, respected wherever they went. But here they were, about to punch each other over Evelyn. The Reeds watched, stunned, mouths hanging open, completely unable to process what was happening. After arguing until he was tired, Senior Technician Joe's gaze swept the room and finally landed on Evelyn. You must be Comrade Evelyn. This is my work ID, and this is our unit's invitation. We'd like you to join the Agritech Institute. Your talent is extraordinary, we would welcome you with open arms. He was smart. Winning the argument didn't matter, the person's opinion mattered most. He would never admit to making a basic mistake, no, it was his old classmate's fault for dragging down the average IQ. Professor Thornton laughed coldly. Our college offers a single dormitory room, a bicycle, and a level 12 technician salary, $62 a month. After 5 years, you qualify for an apartment. That was double Evelyn's current salary. And a bicycle was worth several $100s. They were bleeding money, all for talent. The crowd buzzed. The factory leaders stared at Evelyn in shock. What had she done to deserve such attention? Professor Thornton grew anxious. Evelyn, our university can't match those conditions. The salary is only $50 a month. But bread will come, milk will come, I promise you, within 5 years we'll solve the housing problem. As for your degree, he hadn't gotten leadership approval, so he couldn't promise. The university entrance process still had to be followed. The degree had to be earned legitimately, so no one would have anything to criticize later. Senior Technician Joe had a different view. Comrade Evelyn's knowledge already far exceeds a college student's. She doesn't need more school. Our director said, everything is negotiable. Choose us, you won't regret it. She could take classes after work, get her degree. Graduate studies would be no problem. She's my student. Professor Thornton was furious. Evan saw this was getting nowhere. Stop arguing. Let's hear what Evelyn has to say. Everyone turned to look at her. Evelyn was calm. She smiled slightly. Thank you for the offer, Senior Technician Joe, but I've already agreed to be Professor Thornton's student. One should keep their word. No hesitation, decisive and clear. Evan breathed a quiet sigh of relief, a deep smile in his eyes. Joe saw her unwavering expression and knew there was no changing her mind. He sighed. We were too late. But he admired her even more, talented, principled, with a steady temperament. Someone like that was destined to succeed. Professor Thornton, overjoyed, couldn't wait to start the paperwork. The factory leaders were bewildered, completely lost. A moment ago she was a pitiful outcast, chased out by her parents, and now she was the treasure everyone was fighting over. The world changed too fast, they couldn't keep up. Evelyn suddenly spoke. Professor, could I borrow some money? Of course. Evan was quicker. He pulled out his wallet and stuffed money into Evelyn's hand. He'd heard that handing over your paycheck was what good men did, and women liked that. Professor Thornton noticed something odd but didn't think much of it, maybe they were just close. Evelyn opened the wallet and looked inside, over $200, neatly arranged. She counted out $75 and handed it to the manager. That was the salary advance, now settled. The manager took it and cleared her record. He hesitated, then carefully asked. May I ask, what's going on? What kind of talent does Comrade Evelyn have? Professor Thornton gave a simple answer. She is an agricultural prodigy. The country needs her. He wouldn't say another word, which only left more room for imagination. The Women's Committee chair couldn't help but exclaim. Evelyn, so your month of sick leave, you were doing something important. She had been so calm, keeping it a secret. Even when the storm raged outside, she hadn't rushed to brag. Her steadiness was impressive. Evelyn was humble. Not really. I just wanted to contribute to our nation's agriculture. I love this land deeply. I love this country. There are still so many people who don't have enough to eat. I'm determined to do everything I can to help everyone eat their fill, to share the burden with our country. For the rest of my life, that's what I'll work for. She had chosen this path, and she would walk it without wavering. And she would leave no loose ends. This passionate declaration moved everyone, even the union chairman, who had been somewhat sympathetic to Harold. He'd thought Evelyn bore some of the blame too, she was the daughter, after all. Her parents had raised her. But now he realized how narrow-minded he'd been. A person of such high character, such noble ambition, she was someone to learn from. Well said, Evelyn. You're a good comrade. She cared so much about strangers she'd never even met, how could she have been the one causing trouble in her own family? It only showed how terrible the Reeds were, how cruelly they'd pushed her. Evelyn bowed her head gratefully. Thank you, all of you, for your care during these days. You helped me in my darkest time. I will remember this kindness and repay it one day. The factory leaders didn't take it seriously, they thought it was just polite talk, but they were still pleased. She was a kind, grateful child. So much better than the Reeds. Evan was overjoyed. His girlfriend was amazing, a really good girl. Anyone who bullied her was inhuman. And as for Evelyn not having said yes yet, he ignored that. He was certain for life. Let's go, pack your things. They walked off happily together. The others stayed to handle the paperwork, everything had to be done in one day. The Reeds finally snapped out of their daze and chased after them. Wait. Harold put on a kind, loving father expression, his eyes full of fake warmth. Evelyn, you've become a university employee, that's wonderful. Dad is so proud of you. Do your job well, don't cause trouble, he went on, then got to the point. Remember to take care of your family. It wasn't easy raising you. Rose quickly added. And don't forget about your brother and your nephew. It was as if they'd forgotten how they'd treated her before, now they were pretending nothing had happened, acting like loving parents. They would latch on to anyone with milk, just no real affection. Evelyn sneered. She took out the severance agreement. You have such short memories. But mine is excellent. You didn't want to share my pain, so you have nothing to do with my future glory. She had successfully escaped this toxic family, and she held the moral high ground. She was free and clear. Why would she ever go back to these people? Her IQ wouldn't allow it. Evan stepped in front of Evelyn. Is your whole family useless? Is your son paralyzed and bedridden? Does the whole family have to live off Evelyn's charity? I suggest you all go to the home for the disabled, let the country take care of you. Of course, you'd need to qualify, should I break your legs for you first? The Reeds were speechless. Who was this bastard in a scholar's disguise? Harold didn't dare go head-to-head with Evan. At home he was a tyrant, but outside he was a coward, he didn't dare offend anyone. Rose was livid. What was this man saying, break the whole family's legs? That was a threat. But she was the same kind of coward, she only dared lay hands on Evelyn. You came out of my womb, whenever she needed to, severed ties or not, she'd latch on. Evelyn's aura was sharp, her gaze cold as snow. Don't push me. The old me, with nothing at all, could crush the Reeds. The new me, with people backing me, even more so. Your IQs aren't enough to play with. You're no longer my family, don't expect any mercy. She wasn't bluffing. She truly had no feelings left. Only now did the Reeds realize, this daughter was no longer theirs to control. Evelyn, treating your parents like this, are you even human? Nope. I'm the great demon king. Evelyn tossed that over her shoulder and walked away. Her back was resolute, cold, she never looked back. The Reeds were cowed, they didn't dare follow, but they went back to the manager's office and began complaining about Evelyn's unfilial behavior. Making such a scene in front of people from other units, the manager lost all face. He was furious. Enough. Aren't you ashamed enough? If you keep this up, I'll petition to have your pensions revoked. You'd already signed the severance agreement, what filial piety were you talking about? You're not even related anymore, okay? Manager. Harold was unwilling. The union chairman couldn't hold back either. Do you deserve to be called parents? I'm embarrassed for you. The way you treated Evelyn before, and now you want to ride on her coattails? I signed that severance agreement as a witness. Meaning, I'm on her side now. Even if the law didn't recognize the severance, there were always exceptions. If you were strong enough, valuable enough, your superiors would protect you. Harold couldn't believe it. Old way, all he could think was, his friends were abandoning him. Was this karma? The union chairman shook his head. You reap what you sow, don't cause trouble for Evelyn anymore. She's doing important work, we all agree. Harold nearly passed out. His own colleagues wouldn't side with him? The leadership was united, helping keep the Reeds in check. No matter how arrogant the Reeds were, they didn't dare act up in front of management. They got nothing, and their hearts bled. Their resentment had to go somewhere. This is all your fault, you insisted on cutting ties with Evelyn. My fault? You agreed, you couldn't wait to do it. If you'd treated her better before, she wouldn't be so ruthless now, like you ever cared about her, you never even gave her an egg to eat. The Reeds turned on each other, dog eat dog, spewing so much dirty laundry that everyone shook their heads. When Diana heard about this, the shock hit her hard: envy, jealousy, hatred. Farming talent? Fought over by people? How could that be? Even agriculture college graduates were just farmers. Nothing special. But no matter how she consoled herself, she was still burning with jealousy. Evelyn didn't care about any of that. She went straight to the dormitory to pack. Her roommates gathered around, reluctant to say goodbye. They hadn't known each other long, but they had been good to her. Evan took her bedding and light luggage, his eyebrow full of smiles. Let's go. With Evan's help, Evelyn completed the check-in procedures. She was assigned a small single dormitory, about 150 square feet. The room held a small bed, a writing desk, and a single chair, nothing else. Patiently, Evelyn made her bed and hung the mosquito net, a little space of her own. She turned and saw Evan cleaning, moving very skillfully. She was surprised. You know how to do housework? The Thornton family had a maid, Evan and his father rarely did chores. I was in the rural program too. Evan said it lightly, with a strange expression. You're missing a wardrobe here. Give me a minute. Evelyn looked at the clean, tidy room and let out a long breath. Finally, peace. Before, sharing a room with 9 others, there was bound to be some noise. Now she lived alone, she could do whatever she wanted. Most importantly, she could write without having to go to the library. Oh, the university also had a library. She needed to get a library card. Knock, knock. A young, pretty woman stood at the door, smiling. She was stylishly dressed. I'm the teacher in the next room, Lana Brooks. Have some sunflower seeds. This floor was all staff dormitories, mostly single faculty. Thanks. I'm Evelyn Reed. Lana didn't come in, just stood at the door, cracking seeds. I saw Professor Thornton's son, Evan, in your room earlier. Are you relatives? Evelyn pulled over a chair, and they sat together cracking seeds. Professor Thornton is my teacher. So Evan and I are kind of like academic siblings. Another female student? Lana was surprised. No offense, but he's taken 5 students before, all men. 5? Evelyn could understand why the fieldwork was physically demanding, so male students had an advantage. Well, 5 makes a team. 6 will be even better. Lana laughed. What about Evan? Evelyn swung her feet and answered casually. 7, perfect luck. Lana came from a good family, had high standards, and usually looked down on her peers. But after just a few sentences with Evelyn, she found them very compatible, easy and comfortable. Evelyn had a certain humble but not servile, open-minded quality. Ha ha ha, I like you. Can I call you Evelyn? A man's voice, slightly annoyed, cut in. No, Evan came in carrying a second-hand wardrobe, his face dark. In just a few minutes, a demon had latched on. Evelyn hurried to help, positioning the wardrobe beside the desk. Where did this come from? Evan worked quickly, wiping down the wardrobe. There's a used furniture store near the school. Some of the pieces are decent. We can go together when you have time. Okay. Evelyn rolled up her sleeves to help. They worked well together. Lana was left out. Evan, aren't you being a little too controlling? Evan replied confidently. Evelyn is going to be my girlfriend. Of course I take care of her. Going to be? Lana laughed. So, not yet. Being too controlling will turn women off. Isn't that right, Evelyn? Evan looked at Evelyn nervously. Was that true? Evelyn smiled reassuringly at him. Don't tease him, Lana. He's mine to manage. Lana felt like a lemon. Evan was overjoyed. In the cafeteria, Evelyn slid her card, ordered a big pork chop, some stir-fried greens, and a large bowl of rice. She ate happily. From now on, 3 proper meals a day. Every meal with meat and vegetables. How wonderful. Evan put a chicken leg on her plate. Eat more. You're too thin. Eat it yourself, I've got enough. I have one too. Let's share. Lana watched them feeding each other and pressed her lips together, almost unbearable. She couldn't resist saying in English, Evan, don't be so corny. Mind your image, the teachers and students are watching. Evan was a campus celebrity, he spoke English and French, played piano, did calligraphy, multi-talented. Countless girls had crushed on him. Evan didn't even look up. He gazed at Evelyn in Chinese. Let them look. I don't care. He was dating openly, not sneaking around. A single man and a single woman, nothing to hide. Evelyn looked up and smiled. I don't mind being stared at either. Lana was amazed. You speak English? Very well, great accent. Where did you learn? Evelyn ate a mouthful of rice and said bluntly, natural talent. Self-taught. She wasn't humble, which didn't fit the social norm, but Lana liked it. Lana was an English teacher, more progressive than most, open to new things, and liked people with personality. Now I understand why Evan, who doesn't have a romantic bone in his body, likes you. You're very special. Evan cleared his throat and took the chance to confess. I just met the one I want. One look, and the kingdom fell. 2 looks, and I was done for. He wasn't embarrassed, he was afraid of missing his chance. Lana was dumbfounded. She'd never expected him to be like this Evan, who was usually as gentle as jade. A gasp rang out. Senior Evan, what did you say? Who do you like? 2 young, pretty girls looked at him in shock, heartbroken and stunned. He was their idol. Evan was a senior, interning with his father, often on campus. He had a gentle temperament, treated everyone courteously, had excellent grades, liked helping others, and had won countless awards. He was also a campus celebrity, a role model for underclassmen. Even though he was gentle, he kept a certain social distance from female students, stayed clean. He pointed at Evelyn openly. Her, my little academic sister. Everyone turned to look at Evelyn, all wondering what kind of girl had captured their idol's heart. Not young. Not pretty enough. But there was an indescribable quality, scholarly yet composed. Evelyn smiled at everyone, neither shy nor proud. Calm and unhurried. Big sister, actually. Thank you. A girl proud of her looks and intelligence felt provoked. What kind of tricks did you use to seduce Senior Evan? Facing such rudeness, Evelyn smiled and pointed at herself. Me? Beautiful, kind, and exceptionally smart. Her demeanor was so open, her smile warm, with a cleansing power. The girl was stunned. You're beautiful? At best, her features were decent, not prettier than her. And she didn't even wear makeup. Beauty was in the eye of the beholder. Evelyn thought she looked just fine. Evan, of course, love was blind. Beauty is as beauty does. Evelyn is the most beautiful woman I've ever met. No exception. Lana added coolly. Either way, she's prettier than you. Just Evelyn's poise alone beat her by more than a few notches. The girl burst into tears and ran off. The three of them looked at each other, all with innocent expressions. Lana's eyes twinkled. She looked at Evan and laughed. She ran away crying because of you, nothing to do with me. Evan refused to take the blame. She was crying because she was ashamed, she knew she said something wrong. But why didn't she apologize before running off? That's not good. The two of them were making nonsense up together. Everyone around was dumbfounded. They hadn't expected this side of them. Evelyn was the only honest one. Good, honest. Evelyn blinked and quietly drank her tomato egg soup. Delicious. Lana, who loved chaos, said, Evelyn, let me tell you, that was Han Qing, head of the arts department. She's so lovesick for Evan, it's pathetic. Evan was about to be driven crazy by her, she insisted on eating with him. Now this. He looked at Evelyn seriously. My heart only belongs to Evelyn. It's full. No room for anyone else. With one heart, until death do us part. Evelyn looked up, her dark eyes shining. Okay. Evan's mind went blank. He stared at her, then the corners of his mouth lifted. The smile grew and grew, and he burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, you said? Yes.